Well, I did it again. If last week's evisceration wasn't enough of an indicator, I don't know what else to tell you. At this point, the Panthers are just the Detroit Pistons of the NBA. The worst edition of the Hotspurs in the Premier League. We are trash. We don't win. Well, did you guys expect anything different? Now, I'm assuming most of you guys are reasonable and don't have a purpose for watching mediocre trash. That is why I have purchased NFL Premium so that I can go back to rewatch these games and ride them as I see a beatdown equivalent to that of Mike Tyson against a little first grader. If you guys aren't familiar, basically, I am a person that decided to start following the Panthers as they hopefully in the next decade or so win the Super Bowl, just so that I can say that I was there from day one. You know, it sounds like an excellent journey, don't you think? It can also be a very painful journey, depending on who you ask. There's a chance that they might never win at all. And, that's painful to think about. But anyways, I'm a little bit late on this video. By the time it's out, there's a lot of news that has been happening. But before I go with any of that, I just want to talk about the game recap. It's a little late, but hopefully it does cover a good amount so like people can kind of know what happened in the game, because nobody really wants to watch this thing. So in the first play on the defense, I believe like literally it's the first drive, like first play of the game, the person gets a face helmet call, like a penalty called on them. And then there's just an illegal hand to the face call, and then the corner just gets sauced and they get a touchdown on their opening drive. It's like excellent. I love a defense that gets cut open like paper. But the good thing is that Dicker the kicker just misses it. So it's only 6 points, right? But on the offensive end, kind of where a lot of the problems lie, they just go 3 and out. Boom. It's just, yeah, they go out. And, I do think that it is good defense for that incompletion. Like, I believe they ran it first twice, and then they threw it. And it was pretty well covered. Panthers do very bad in distance from, like, corners, I think, statistically. And, yeah, it's kind of hard to throw that for Young. He tried his best. They don't get it. Just 3 it out. But on the defensive end, they get an interception. So it's like, there's a little bit of hope. It's like, is the defense like better today? Because, last time they got blown out for like 47 points. And, that's not really fun. So, there's like internally like this little hope that like, things are going to be a little bit better. Obviously, it's the Panthers seed. So is that actually realistic? We get the ball. It's another 3 and out. Wonderful. There was a scramble play. Young just goes upwards, and he could have just thrown it earlier, or just like full on sent it. He honestly should have just rocket shuttled that ball straight into the end zone. Like, you just gotta go for it, man, instead of just taking a sack. It's just like, bro, like at some point you just have to take these risks. Like, it's just not worth like, yeah, getting like hit there. Like, you could throw it away, you could do so much stuff, but he just ends up doing nothing, and it's just 3 and out once again. Defense comes on. JC Horn, announcers call his name. They're like, okay, this guy's playing well. He came in, he got some very good stops. They forced the Chargers to punt. So it's actually not that bad right now in terms of the defense, but it's not saying much because last week we gave up 47 points. We were giving up points like Oprah Winfrey was giving out cars, man. And just in general, there's just these untimely penalties, dumb penalties. And, I'm going to cover it at the end, but let's just say like the Panthers were just terrible with their discipline in this game. The next drive we go on, offense, is another interception. We don't talk about that. Now it's the third quarter, and I just saw Bryce Young overthrow and wide open dude. It's like, what the heck, bro? You gotta hit those. Like, you gotta understand, this team is bad, yes, but when there's an opportunity to get an easy first down or throw completed, whatever, you gotta make these throws. And this just isn't it. So it's 23-3 entering the fourth, and it's just like everything at this point is just garbage time. This game is over. They're just running it down the throat of the Carolina Panthers. There's already been a turnover from our end. They haven't had any offense. Like, I don't even think they got a first down until like the fourth quarter. And that's horrible. Like, the Panthers are starved from a first down. That's how bad their offense is. Like, it's not pretty whatsoever. And, you know, the news is out now. It's like, Young isn't going to start the game. It's Saturday as I'm recording this. He's not playing tomorrow as a starter. And, you know, a part of me just wants to see what changes with this because, like, if his backup outperforms him, then it's just like, okay, like, what is the excuse at this point? Like, Young is just straight up like garbage. Like, it is what it is, right? Like, if your backup, who is a no-name quarterback in the NFL, is able to put up better statistical numbers and, like, lead the other team or your team to a win, it's like, yo, what is happening, right? You're a first pick overall. How are you getting outplayed by a backup quarterback that nobody knows the name of? You can't do this, man. And, you know, just basing it off of history, you know, there's always going to be players that break through history and do all that, yada, yada, right? But from the molds that we know, there aren't that many short quarterbacks that do particularly well. And there's a reason for that, right? There's a physical disadvantage. You don't have the leverage to throw it as, like, hard. You know, you're not as, like, sturdy. You can't see over the linemen when they're, like, all duking it out in the line of scrimmage. And it's just overall more difficult to throw the ball when you have these towering 6'5", like 300-pound guys, like, throwing their arms in the air, and you're like only like what, 5'11", 5'10". Now, off the top of my head, there's Drew Brees and Russell Wilson that did amazing in this league. Both won a Super Bowl title. Now, you do have to consider, though, Drew Brees was one of the best processors the NFL has ever seen from the quarterback position, and Russell Wilson is like an absolute machine. Like, he's Terminator on his legs, right? And Young hasn't really shown either of that, right? He isn't like this amazing, like, runner. Like, he's not like a Lamar Jackson, and he's not a Drew Brees either, right? And, you know, I guess there's kind of like Purdy, who's also not that particularly tall, that's like doing well so far. But, you know, Purdy is also seemingly a very good processor. Like, you see JT O'Sullivan, he's going on about his, like, anticipation and all that, and you don't really see that with Young. Like, there's too many times when he's just holding onto the ball, just missing wide open people, and it's just, man, like, is this guy able to really just be the man for the Panthers? Because ultimately, they're trying to be a relevant team, and they're trying to be a great team, right? If you're trying to win a Super Bowl, you need a guy. And now, speaking about the defense, it's not elite by any means, but, you know, they're not the reason why the Panthers lost. It's the offense. Like, you can't excuse a team that got 2 first downs in the entire game as a whole. That's insane. How do you get 2 first downs? You could have put me on that team, and I would have had practically the same result with that game. Their offense is really predictable, and it's just like, yeah, very difficult to, like, work with overall in its entirety. And then it's just, yeah, you run it, and then third down you throw it, and it's just like, okay, no creativity whatsoever with their play calls. Like, it's not helping the situation either. And it's just, overall with this team, from top to bottom, is just hard to work with. And it's just like, how do you go 90 yards in penalties? You got penalized 9 times for 90 yards. That's a touchdown's worth of penalties. Like, it's just undisciplined from the whole team whatsoever. And just speaking of the coach does seem to be like this very, like, positive guy. Like, he's trying to, he's not like those guys that, like, yell in front of, like, their players, right? Now, that could be good and bad, right? One of the things is that he's dealing with a bad team, let's admit it. And you have to wonder if that this positivity is going to help them. Maybe it does, right? Maybe it allows them to keep their heads up. They are able to train and then do that. But there's also an aspect of like, okay, then he's just going to also let things slide that shouldn't slide. Like being undisciplined is like one of them. Like there's no way a professional football team should be so undisciplined to where like it's giving up practically a touchdown's worth of calls, right? And it's not like the referees were bad on the day. Like this happened for specifically just the Panthers. I don't know where to go with this team, honestly. Like it's just gonna be pain for this entire season, which is, I guess what I signed up for. So, I mean, maybe we could just be safe from all of this by disbanding the team. Let's just do it. Just disband the team, man. Mr. Tepper, you're the man. Let's disband the team. All right, now in all seriousness, the game is up and coming tomorrow. I think they're playing against the Las Vegas Raiders. Yeah. And to be honest, it's going to be an L. I don't see a way that the Panthers are going to win it. Like, I think the Panthers might unironically go winless this entire season. Like, they might win one game from, like, scoring, like, 9 points like they did. So, yeah, I mean, there are some sighs of pain as I talk about this team. But, maybe they'll turn it around somehow. Maybe they'll get something happening with Bryce Young. From what I've seen, they are looking at trade targets, possible destinations for Bryce, and that might be actually very good. But we have to also consider that the team overall just needs an overhaul. The receivers are not very good. The line is not very good. The quarterback, I mean, we don't know yet. And the defense overall is not like generational or anything like that. And you do need a good team, right? It's a team sport. Like one player being rotated around and changed is not going to help anything. If anything, the Panthers need to figure out a way to get good enough draft capital with very good young players, focus on their young development, and try to rebuild this team from the ground up, right? And we'll see how that goes. We'll see how they do with their draft picks and how they work around with trade targets in this season. But let's just see and hope that there's just like I just want to see a fight, right? It's one thing to like lose games, but it's a different thing to just like flop over and die. Like I would rather have like a bull that goes like at their opponents and just die because like the other hunters have like guns versus like the bull just lies down on the ground and just waits for the hunter to kill them. Like you gotta put up a fight, man. Like, and I don't know if the Panthers have that it factor, but we'll see. I'm actually hoping, like, especially because I want to feel for like Young, right? He has all the eyes on him. He's a first draft pick overall, and there's all these questions about him being like the worst first pick of all time, like all of this stuff. When, to be honest, like the circumstance hasn't really been great for him. And I want to show, I want people to realize like just the terrible situation he's in. And I hope that like maybe like he gets put in next game, like when he has the opportunity and he does well. And I like the way that he approaches it. He says like, yeah, it's my fault. Like I haven't been playing well. And I think that's a very good step to really changing it around, right? Because if you just pretend like everything is well, like if you're like Zach Wilson and act like everything is sunshine and rainbows, then things are going to go bad eventually, right? But he's at least taking accountability, and I'm just hoping that this means he's putting in more time and effort. He's putting in the reps. He's trying to do whatever he can to get himself to a level, right? There's many quarterbacks in the past. Steve Young, for example, did not start out his career great. He was deemed a bust. In the future, he did well, right? There's always an opportunity. You just got to work for it and make it count. And I'm just hoping that for Young and just, yeah, as we go forth. Let's see how they do. I'll see you guys next time.